Hi, I'm Carlene, and this is Carlene Tonight. We have a special song that we want to play. I think it will resonate with you and many others. I think it's a fun song. If you check out the music video for the song, it's cool. There's puppets and it's a fun song. And the reason I want you to listen to it is because I think the band is awesome. I know them personally. We went to school together. They're altered by mom, and the song is called Outside Lover. Hi, I'm Carlene, and this is Carlene Tonight. We have with us Andrew Caravella, also known Caravella. Ooh,
I love it.
You like that?
I do. It's got a little spiciness on it there.
Boom. I mean, well, what's the origin of your last name?
Origin, I believe it's Italy, so Italian.
Italian stallion. I haven't had too many Italian stallions on the show, but I'm happy that you're here and you're in LA. You are in the place that has all the hustle and bustle. You know, this is the place where people claim to fame. You're in it all, but I think it's a little bit, is it quieter now, you find, in the industry? I mean, there's not a lot of movies happening.
There's a lot of outsourcing too. And that all was happening, pre-COVID, because it's just so expensive to shoot anything anymore in California, especially LA. So you still have like big projects that are happening and stuff, but a lot of people have outsourced to like Texas or Louisiana or Tennessee or New Mexico, and a lot of American productions are now being done in Canada because it's cheaper, it's more efficient, you can get a lot more done. Hollywood is the whole idea of Hollywood. If you want to be in show business, and that's not just acting, that's like filmmaking, screenwriting, whatever. You can go to these other places and try and make it happen for yourself. Even Atlanta. Atlanta's a huge booming market. During COVID, I know actors that decided to just pack their bags and just completely relocate to Atlanta to do what they're doing, and they're doing okay. It was a really good transition for them. So yes, LA still has its things. It's still, base camp for a lot of, people in the industry, but there are other opportunities abroad now for people that want to, pursue show business as a professional career.
Yeah, you have a lot on the go. I mean, I looked at your resume here, Andrew. For those tuning in, Andrew Caravella, he has a podcast as well, the Kevin and Andrew podcast.
I do.
Right? You're a voice actor.
Yep, that's I'm actually doing this right now because I'm still kind of waking up. I'm actually doing this in my vocal booth right now. I'm just sitting in it.
Virtual insanity. I'm telling you, now we can just have all these virtual recordings for the show in your pajamas. We don't have to do meetings. I mean, it would be great to actually fly down to LA just to do this with you. That'd be awesome. I'm like,
that would be amazing.
Wouldn't it be cool? That would be awesome.
I would love that. We do it on the beach in Malibu. It'd be great.
Yeah. Like I bring my little Zoom device and we just record. Like now it makes it so easy. Like I just recorded a
drinking mimosas.
I like that. I haven't had a mimosa, but I heard they're really good.
Oh, they're delicious. They're delicious.
Yeah. So basically what we're going to talk about today is our relationship with our mentors. Because you said you've had more relationships with them that have had a significant impact on your career, right?
Yeah. And I've been a mentor myself, but And I assume it's the same for a lot of people that are in that position where you don't really understand the amount of an impact you can have on an individual, especially in this business. As a performer, as they're trying to find their way to be successful in a profession where you have more unsuccess than success. For every 100 no's, you might get a yes. And when you get that feedback from those people that you kind of took under your wing as a protege or as a mentoree, if that's a word, it kind of takes a step back, like, oh, I really touched that person. And for the mentors that I've had in my life that have touched me, I don't think they really understand the impact on how they kind of help with that roadmap, to get me to help me find my own way.
Yeah, and even with a career as a voice actor, I don't know many voice actors who can do the voice acting alone. I mean, without another source of income. Have you always had another
Hmm.
job when you started off? Like, how did you start off
Always,
voice acting?
always. Yeah, everyone's famous in California. That's what they say, but that's because everyone has like three jobs. Yeah. So when I was first starting out in show business, before voice acting was even a thing, and I was just pursuing music because I was a recording artist and trying to do real, television acting at the same time. I ended up getting a job up in Malibu. That's why I like Malibu so much. It's been a lot of time there, working at rehab centers for children that can afford that type of healthcare. And it was fun working with the kids. I mean, sometimes they had inspiring stories. Sometimes they had very tragic stories. Spend so much time with them, you kind of feel like a extended family member, And sometimes I would pull my inspiration from their struggles and their challenges and their accomplishments. Kind of use that for my own career, and everything that I tried to do. So yeah, I've kind of been in the field of mental health when I first started out, to kind of help me pay the bills while I was pursuing acting and music.
Wow, I would have never known. That didn't come up last time we spoke, but that's very
I
interesting.
know.
And you know what?
Hmm.
Mental health is a real concern right now. Not to get off topic, but more
Yeah,
people are struggling with mental health now because we're spending so much time inside. You
I
know?
know. It's super bad. I'm kind of like a hermit sometimes. So I'm okay with like the anti-socializing. Early in my career, I would be on sets on like Warner Brothers and Universal Studios for hours on end. And by hours, I mean a normal day for me was 15, 16, 17 hours away from the outside world. You just see cars go by the studio gates, on the highway, or the street, and you realize like, oh, everyone has a normal job. What I'm doing is really not a normal job, but I like that. I didn't have a problem with that, so I kind of was just drawn and sucked into that, which was weird because I was a very social kid growing up. I was in like, band. My parents had me in baseball and youth soccer growing up. So I was always around people all the time, but it didn't bother me when I started getting to show business and I would be in studios or I'd be by myself. Like I'd be around people, but I'd still feel like by myself because I didn't really know anyone all, very well. So when COVID happened, I was kind of okay with just kind of being to myself, but I know for a fact I'm weird and that's not the majority of the world. So yeah, a lot of young people, the mental health has not really helped them a whole lot, with what's happening with quarantine and COVID. It's been real bad.
Yeah. But it sounds like being in the acting world has kind of gotten you used to waiting around, spending a lot of time by yourself. It's a different world, right? For those who are not into acting or those who are
Yeah.
thinking about it, right? It's a little bit challenging now to start off because a lot of meetings are not happening. Like I worked at a talent agency and I don't know. A lot of things are happening now. They're not coming into the office to do their self tapes anymore. They're not coming in to do auditions. I remember when I first started working at this talent agency 3 years ago. A lot of auditions were happening in the studio, and then
Yeah.
it just started getting less and less. We don't have that, so everyone's doing more self tapes at home. A lot of more people are doing the setup at home, right? So
Yeah, I mean, and that's what happened to me. I had to end up building a vocal booth in my little home studio at home in order to do more and more auditioning because
Mhm.
I did not have the ability to go into a studio in LA because everything started becoming remote, and that kind of became the more popular idea for a lot of people. So I was still able to survive and do voiceovers and auditions and stuff for my agent in COVID because I had a local booth available.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people are either having to get the equipment or I don't know, getting like, I mean, Apple is really good with the Voice Recorder Pro app. Not that I'm endorsing that whatsoever, but it's
Right.
a great app.
Yeah.
When I started off, I started using that to record a lot until I finally got a mic. It's good. The quality is actually pretty good, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Technology
Definitely.
advanced so quickly. So I just want to ask you, what is your relationship with the people in the industry? Like, what has it been like for you? Is it like they show in the movies?
Of course not. um, so people in the industry, like we're all in the same boat. Like sometimes in the isolation, like you think, oh my God, like what are other people doing? But then when you look on Facebook and like everyone's just kind of sharing their life, you start to realize you're one of countless, I guess, countless that are in the same boat. There's a lot of actors who are now doing, self-tape auditions at home. There's a lot of voice actors who are doing the vocal booths at home. Same with singers and performers. A lot of that stuff is being done on cell phones now, as far as taped auditioning goes. And people are getting creative and they're pivoting their careers to do more at home stuff. Once quarantine and COVID kind of subsides, I'm sure a lot more things will open up, but there will be a space going forward for this because what they're finding is it's actually been more efficient. It's easier for a casting director to go from video to video to video versus 100 people coming into the studio to do an audition.
Are you getting a lot of voice auditions right now? I know here in Toronto, like my friend was like, Carlene, put that demo together. This is the time to get into voice acting because it seems like there's more here in Toronto. He's saying there's a lot of work. I don't know what it's like for you in LA.
Yeah, so actually my auditions have sped up. I've had a lot.
Mm.
Um, there's been days where I've had 3 or 4 auditions. I've been on my way out the door on a couple of occasions, running late, and I'll get an email of like 2 or 3 auditions back to back. I have a couple agents actually. I'm on the West Coast and East Coast for representation. So, I'll kind of sigh like, oh my gosh, 3? Really? So, and I'll literally stop what I'm doing to take the time to do them because I have the recording studio at my house. So it's been more convenient for me to do the auditioning. Yes, I end up being late to appointments and things like that, but time is money. So, if I get in that audition and I book it, it was worth being an hour late to something. That's how I
Right?
look at it.
Yeah, timing is everything. And like you just at a moment's notice, if you've been doing it a long time and they know your voice and they want you and you get that audition, that's important. I think for those who don't really understand the voice world or the acting world, it's kind of like working retail. There's peaks and valleys. There's times when there's tons of auditions and then there's slow periods. I mean, obviously for the most part, it's usually always busy. I learned so much working at the talent agency but it's
Right.
sporadic unless you are established and they're always asking for you or if you're on a show. I think it's very important if you book a show or you're booking a series or you booked like a commercial that's going to play over and over again and you're going to get residual on it. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, there's different things I think with voice acting, but just having something else is kind of key because I notice with certain actors, like they always want to know like if they're just relying on their voice acting work, it's kind of hard because I was dealing with the accounting side of things. And so it's like,
Uh-huh.
did you guys get the check yet? Is it in? I'm chasing payments. Like people don't understand how it works on the inside, like all the background work that has to happen to make sure that Andrew, you're getting paid. Like it's not just a matter of you going to the audition, you book it, and then they send a check to us. Sometimes it doesn't even work like that. Sometimes production's close and we still haven't got your check. And now it's like, well, now I have to go chase production and find out what happened. How come we didn't get the check? Or the best is when they issue the check and they didn't issue it correctly. Now I have to send it back and wait for it to come back.
Oh yeah.
And go to the bank. And, it's all this stuff in the background that you just don't realize,
Yeah. And people don't understand that the actor is like a small fraction of the bigger picture. People don't realize that. They're like, well, they're on camera, they're the star. That doesn't really mean anything in show business. You are not at the top of the totem pole. Yes, you're important and you're a priority because you help actually make the production happen by being on camera. But there are so many moving parts that people are completely unaware of.
It's when you look at the credits, especially of a film, I always watch the credits. I'm like, oh my gosh, you watch all the sound check, the editor, like all these things, like we don't really see. Like even when I watched the making of Tim Burton's A Nightmare Before Christmas, like back then, yeah. Oh my God, it took forever. Like Jack, just his eyes moving, like someone had to do all the different eye movements that Jack had during the film. Like, I'm just like, wow. Like you said, all the moving parts come together. But yes, of course, we're so happy when the actor gets that role. Cause I mean, obviously if it wasn't for you, the thing wouldn't exist. Right. I mean, the actors and everyone else come together and they make the movie. And like, we realize now, I think more than ever, how important like those shows are, like when the acting world kind of stopped for a little bit, it was like, wow.
Absolutely.
Tell me about working with voice teachers and coaches. How has that been for you over the years?
It's kind of been nice to have a fresh perspective, It's always reassuring how you're either doing it right or doing it wrong. And, I feel like everyone is always a student. You're like a student of life, like you're never fully done learning everything you could. So, I can be 80 years old and be doing this and I can still learn something from somebody else that maybe I didn't know previously. So it's been really beneficial. It helps keep me personally positive when I'm trying to explore my voice and try new things with voice acting that I haven't done before.
Right. So tell me, when did you realize that you wanted to get into this before? Like, I mean, you said it's a new thing. Voice acting has not always been around. It's
That's right.
Yeah. When did you start? How was your journey like? Tell us about that.
So I had a very successful early on in my career, a streaming show. This is before Facebook Live and YouTube Live. There were two competitors on the internet called Stickum TV and Justin TV. Most people that are on the Twitch platform and have been for a very long time are probably familiar with Justin TV because Twitch evolved out of Justin TV. Stickum sadly closed its doors and sold its way off. I was on Stickum TV, and I mean, I was banging out like 50,000, 60,000 viewers, per live show. And, I was sponsored also. So I had a featured spot. I was one of the all-time top 25 shows, on Stickum. And, we had a lot of fun doing it, and I learned how to produce and I learned how to do a lot of other fun, cool things. And that led into meeting, an actor named Zach Callison. Zach Callison is probably most known as the voice of Steven Universe on Cartoon Network. And I met Zach when he was a kid. I mean, he was a teenager. And his parents had him working with a production company and a internet network, like a TV network, internet TV network, that they were going to do a podcast with Zach. And he was just fresh with Steven Universe. It was a brand new thing. It wasn't the, the phenomenon that it became at that time. So I knew of Zach, but I didn't really know Zach at that time. And I kind of had this rule where I was like, I don't work with kids really all that much. It just, I just felt like, for the most part, at that point in my career, kids, they didn't think like an adult, so sometimes like the immaturities and stuff of that nature would come out. And I was all about work, 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 being productive. That's how I had fun and had a good time. So I never worked with kids really up to that point. And, I had told his parents, like, I don't really work with kids. And my manager at the time, he was like, no, you got to meet him. He's a great guy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Set it up. So I sat at their place in Burbank, and they introduced me to Zach. It was like, okay, I'm going to produce this kid's show. So they're like, well, talk to him and see what he's like. I think you're going to be surprised. So I started getting to know him one-on-one. And somewhere about 5 minutes into that conversation, I had already made up my mind. But we ended up talking for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. So then Zach had to go off to something else. And, his parents sat there with me and they're like, what did you think? And I said, are you aware of the fact that your son is like a 45-year-old man trapped inside his body? And they just laughed and they said, yeah, we get that a lot. I go, your son has an old soul. I have never seen that like control of maturity in a mind before of a young kid. Like it wasn't like I was talking to a teenager, it was like I was talking to a grown ass man. It was amazing. And I was just like, okay, I can work with this. I will work with your son. So, I ended up producing his show and it was a lot of fun. And, I started spending more time with the family and hanging out at different events. And then I really started understanding the voiceover world because Zach did on camera stuff, but he also was a voice actor. And Steven Universe started kind of picking up momentum. He started going out for other things, started doing other things. So we would chat occasionally about the business and what he would be doing in the voice world. And I started seeing documentaries and started researching voice acting because, I was producing this podcast, but I was still an actor and a singer at the same time, right? So I still had my own gigs that I was doing. So
and what year? When was this? Like, what year was this when this was all happening? Oh my gosh.
2012, 2013.
Oh, okay. Not too long ago then. All right, cool.
So right around 2015, 2016, I was at a transition in my life. I had just wrapped up my final album that I had recorded. And I started kind of phasing out of music because I realized how much the music industry changed and I didn't have the money nor the effort to, be as committed as I was in past years. So I started phasing out of that, started going into the world of education. But that also led to doing more voiceover work. So I ended up getting signed to a new agency right in about 2017. And I started exploring voiceover work more at that time, and, it's crazy to say that my mentor was younger than me.
Wow, it is. I can't believe it. Like I'm looking him up. This kid is like,
fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, Zach's in his 20s now, right? But
yeah,
it's unique too because you don't really have a lot of young kids in Hollywood that are doing voiceover work because you have kid rules and kid laws that you have to follow. So why not get someone 18 or 20 or 25 that can do a kid voice, right? Because then you don't have to worry about it. So that's what you tend to get more nowadays with acting, with voice acting. It's uncommon. It's not unheard of, but it's uncommon to have kids that are voice actors. But Zach started as a voice actor as a kid. And, I learned a lot from him. He's been an inspiration in my life, and like a mini mentor in the world of voice acting. I've had other mentors in the past for other things, but he's one that stands out specifically as someone that I'm very appreciative that I came across him in life because what I learned from him actually kind of helped me in my own career.
That's so cool. Talking about kid actors, I think now more than ever, we're looking back at things that like old shows, old memories, because we have all this time and like we're going back in time, I feel. I looked up at an interview with Macaulay Culkin, and that kid, like, everyone still watches Home Alone. It's like it's
Mm-hmm.
never old. It's always new. Like you can still watch it so many times. And looking at him and like his first interview with the guy that hosted Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and just to see him, I'm just like in awe because I think when you're a kid actor, there's something to say about that because it's like, did he get his childhood? Did he lose it as a result of working at such a young age? I mean, he was talented, and obviously he didn't keep up at it after doing so many films, but we're always looking at like to Kevin, right? Kevin, right? So it's just
Yeah.
even when I watch back, I'm like, wow, like he's changed. Like, I mean, he's not the same Kevin anymore now that he's an adult, like the innocence is gone.
His I forget her name, but the actress that played his mom, she's on TikTok, and they did a split screen with her doing Kevin now during COVID. It was kind of entertaining versus when she did it back in the movie, and she still has it to this day.
Oh my God, it's a household thing. Like we know Catherine O'Hara for that. I mean, yes, I love her in Schitt's Creek. I gotta say, I love her as Maura Rose. I love that side of her. Like it made me laugh. She's like, well, like it's so over the top, but I love it, right? And just going back to what you said, your mentor. Like I think I've had a few mentors too. Like for me, I didn't see myself going into the acting world, but I did love Jim Carrey. Like for me, I just thought he was always so like funny and I got to meet him. And it's different because when you're a memento actor, like you really get into the role. And I didn't know how absorbed he is, like how, like I hated the movie Jim and Andy, Man on the Moon. I didn't like that movie.
Yeah.
Out of all his movies, I didn't get the character he was playing. But when I saw the documentary, Andrew, I was like, I get it. Now I understand. Because I didn't know who that person was. Right.
Oh yeah. It's one of the most like iconic movies that he's ever done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great movie.
Yeah, it is. And like Jim went into a dark place after playing that role. It's crazy how I guess a lot of actors, when they get so into a character, that's all they do, and then they go into like depression. So I guess it's a common thing.
Yeah. Well, with Andy Kaufman, he really feels like he channeled his spirit, in the documentary to play him.
Yeah.
And he even had like a sit down with Andy Kaufman's daughter, who really did believe it too. When she was talking to Jim Carrey, she's like, my dad is being channeled through him right now. So, I mean, talk about method acting. He would literally show up to the set like Andy Kaufman. Like it was like Andy Kaufman was showing up. It was bizarre to see some of the behind the scenes footage, because you're referring to the documentary that Jim Carrey released. Correct? Yeah.
And I got to see that at TIFF, and I was so excited. I didn't want to go. I didn't actually want to get the tickets, but I'm thankful to my friend for saying to me, Carlene, you love Jim Carrey. You should go. Just get the tickets. And I did. And I'm like, you know what? I told my friend, I'm like, you're right. This was probably one of the best experiences I had at TIFF. I'm never going to forget that moment. It just made me understand like him a little bit better, and like just what kind of actor he really is. Like, people are like really into their careers if they're really passionate about it. And like, kudos up to all my Canadian actors out there, Jim Carrey, to say the least, right? So it's just interesting, right? I'm so glad you got to see that too. And I guess when we're really into the acting world, like we look into everything and try to understand it, right?
Yeah. Now, I've had other mentors that have impacted my life dramatically. The problem is that some of them have kind of fell by the wayside. And they've ran into some problems that are theirs, and I've kind of, unfortunately, I feel like I've had to distance myself from those mentors because it's kind of heavy. It's kind of heavy, some of the stuff that has come to the surface, and it's unfortunate because some of the tricks of the trade and some of the things that you just can't learn in a book or Googling, as far as like, how to be successful in certain aspects of the industry, I learned from them. So it was kind of an adjustment where I just kind of had to unacknowledge that they impacted my life. But I feel like, and it's not just in show business, but I feel like a lot of people who have been inspired or mentored by a certain individual who has kind of fallen on dark days, they've ran into that, and they kind of question everything they've learned to that point, because of the person that they admired and cared about so much making bad choices in life. And my advice to that is, if that's you and that has happened to you, you know, value what you took away from them, because knowledge is knowledge, whether it comes from someone that is positive or someone that has negative, aspects of them. That knowledge is so valuable, and who knows, maybe you turn it into a positive itself, and give that knowledge to the next person if you end up mentoring somebody, because I still feel there's a value on that, even if the person is, no longer in your life, if that makes sense.
It does. Wow, that's beautiful. I'm Carlene, and this is Carlene Tonight. We have with us Andrew Caravella in LA. And it's so cool. Like, I'm just happy that you're on the show. But I mean, I met you from another podcast group, and it's so amazing how many people are so helpful in the podcast community. And
the power of connection.
I know. They're right about networking, right? I've been networking so much, it's not even funny. The tricks of the trade is what even as an entrepreneur, one of my mentors say to me, like, he's just like, throw spaghetti at the wall, and whatever sticks, just go with it, right? Whatever is working.
That's right.
And, so I know that you said to me last time that even though you have a lot of experience, you've actually decided to go back to school. So what are you studying right now?
Oh my gosh. So, on top of my life, I'm back to school. I'm hoping that I will be completed with my bachelor's in August.
Yay!
Yay me! I've reached the.
After you graduate, be like, Andrew, you did it, man!
Did it? I've reached a point in my career where I've gone as far as I can, and if I want to advance any further in life, I got to go back to school. So I made the leap of faith, and I went back. And I'm in the home stretch, and I got accepted to Arizona State University. And I'm currently finishing up at the Walter Cronkite School for Journalism and Mass Communication, because I'm in the news and media world more so nowadays. And my major is in digital audiences, which is great because I've kind of learned everything I can about digital audiences working in the industry, which is fantastic, because aside from helping influencers and people like myself understand who their digital and social media audiences are, and figuring out how to create content that they will consume, I can also apply that same knowledge and information to small businesses, corporations, so I can kind of work outside of entertainment with entertainment industry knowledge, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You are a path of knowledge. I mean, for those listening, Andrew is news director, anchor at H8. I don't know if you're still there. HD.
I am. HD Daily News. It's a regional area called the High Desert in Southern California. And I'm known in the area. So they had asked me if I wanted to come on part-time as news director, because I do have a background in television and radio. I've hosted shows. I've done news stuff, mostly entertainment news, but I've done real news also. And they really liked my style, and they thought I would be great for the local audience. And I said, yeah, sure, why not? So I do cover local news for the area. That includes doing the voiceovers on all the major radio stations in that region, because they're all owned by the same company. So there's like 5 or 6 stations for a population of like 450,000. So it's like a suburbia, I guess. And
they always say,
and
they
yeah.
always told us small market is the way to go, Andrew. That's what I was told in radio.
Well, the fun thing about small markets is you have the ability to create more and do more, right? You can explore different ideas to see if they work or don't work in real time. When you get into the big boy markets, you gotta stick to the status quo. But it's fun because I get to experiment and see what works and what doesn't work. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, it looks like you got your plate full. I don't know when it's going to get less on that plate there, because every time I talk to you seems to be something new. And also, you said that you have a new show. So not only are you going to be doing Kevin and Andrew, Andrew podcast, but you said you have something new coming out. So what's that all about?
Yeah, so I produced a reality show for a local TV station in Southern California back in 2017. The idea of the show was a husband and wife out of the Midwest of the United States, and they moved their operation to Southern California, but the desert, right? So the desert of Southern California. And what they were doing back in the Midwest, they brought out to California. And that's basically stars and cars and charities. And what that means is this husband and wife duo, pair up, they restore automobiles of the muscle car era. And in order to do what they do, they partner with a charity and they bring on a celebrity to help endorse and promote what they're doing, their causes and stuff. And they literally raffle these cars off at these big charity events and auto shows all over the country. And it was easier for them to come to Southern California because they were closer to Hollywood, where a lot of, celebrities and public figures live, to help make this operation work. And when I was first told about, them coming to the TV station to do this, I was talking to the GM of the station. I'm like, this won't work. I don't know about this. And he said, well, tell you what, I will drive you out there. You can meet them and you can tell me what you think. Kind of like when I met Zach, right? Well, just check it out and see what you think. So I went out there.
Oh my God, Zach, if you listen to this show, shout out to Zach Callison. Thank you so much. Because if it wasn't for you, Andrew wouldn't be here now, right? It's all those people that got you to where you are, right?
Yeah. So I met them and I'm like, okay, I could probably make a show out of this because they were quirky enough. They were just so quirky enough that it would just work for television. So we did a reality show and it did great, and, they ended up going their separate way after the show. And then, I did the same because projects happen and they just have actually come back into my life. Still the same television station, same production company. And we have decided to create a podcast, a television podcast version of the reality show. What's cool about that is it will be available like this on like Spotify and iHeart, but then people will also be able to watch it through the app for the TV station. They'll also be able to check it out. Huh?
What's the name of the podcast of the show?
The name of the podcast is Angel's Garage, the podcast. Angela and Mark Babala are the husband and wife from MAB Motors. Mark and Angela Babala, MAB, so MAB Motors. And it's basically the concept of what we did actually in the field shooting the show, but in a podcast form now. And, a bunch of celebrities will come on the show, talk. There will be a charity event, a car project that they do. And we've added some extra fun things for people on the show. So we actually start production in the next couple of weeks. And we're looking to get this podcast out actually by the fall of 2021.
So all the good things to come for you, Andrew. I'm so excited for you. This is so amazing. I don't think anyone should be in that state of mind where things can't happen, even though the pandemic is here. Like the virus has taken over a lot of our lives, but doesn't mean that it can stop like whatever we want to get done, right? Like you're getting more done.
That's right.
Yeah. Like I have a friend, he's almost done his certificate program. Like he's already taken 14 courses. Like it's unbelievable what we are able to do like during this time. Like if anything, we got a little bit more time. Some of us were laid off and it kind of like forced us to do other things, but I'm so happy for you. This is so cool. We'll have to check this out. Angel's Garage. We're going to look out for that in the fall and more to come, right? There's going to be more things to come.
Yeah. Well, I'm now part-time. It's kind of like when needed. I'm an entertainment correspondent for BNC Truth, which is the Black news channel out of Florida. Sometimes I'm asked to come in as an entertainment correspondent since that's kind of my specialty, and talk about different things in entertainment. So I do pop up on the Black news channel from time to time. That's a cable channel and it's like in 40 million homes across the country. So super excited about that new endeavor as well.
Very nice. Andrew, if you ever want to come back on the show, we'd love to have you talk about like, maybe when you come back, we'll talk about the new podcast and like, we'll talk about like how it was after graduation.
Oh yeah. Well, wait. I gotta talk about Kevin and Andrew have a podcast. That's like the go-to right now for me.
I know. Oh my God. Right? Before we let him go.
We have to. I have to encourage people to tune in to Kevin and Andrew Have a Podcast. It's on all your platforms that you watch or listen to podcasting: Facebook Watch, YouTube, Amazon, Alexa, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeart, Spotify. It's everywhere. And season 2.
Kevin and Andrew Have a Podcast?
That's it. All you have to Google is Kevin and Andrew Have a Podcast, or go to one of your major search engines on any of your platforms that you have. Kevin and Andrew Have a Podcast. We pop right up. And we're in season 2. Everything is music this season. So all of our guests are nothing but music artists, independents that are trying to make a name for themselves, trying to survive in COVID. It's a lot of fun. Kevin is kind of like a baby boomer. I'm a millennial. So we clearly have opposing viewpoints on all kinds of fun stuff, which create really good conversations.
You're a good conversationalist, my friend. You are.
So yeah, I definitely encourage people to check it out. It's a blast. We make you feel like you're actually a part of the podcast.
That's amazing. I did have a chance to listen to it, and there's some interesting stuff on that show, guys. Very good back and forth there. I have to check it out again. So Andrew Caravella, you can find him on Twitter, On Air Andrew.
That's right.
And you're on Instagram too, right?
Yep. Same thing, On Air Andrew, because I'm on air.
Yes. And there's also another Andrew Caravella as well. So you have to
just ignore that one. That's a story right there. They own my domain name because that's their name.
You have to fight for that. No.
I did. They don't respond. I've actually reached out to them and they don't respond to me. So I think it's dead in the water, oh my gosh. Because I think that's their legal name. So I've been trying for 15 years. I'm not joking.
You know what? It's one of those things because I'm Diva on the radio. And so I've gotten that on everything, like my .com and my .ca. But with that name, I couldn't get it on Instagram. So like when you have name, try and get it everywhere, right? Before someone gets there, right?
Super important. I'll tell you this. I've gone as far as stalking the expiration date for the URL, because you have to renew URLs every year or whatever. And I have set reminders on my phone. And then like the day before it expires, it'll go off to remind me, you want to buy this. And I will wait till midnight. I literally did this one year. I will wait till midnight in order to see if I can buy it. And what I find out is it got auto renewed. So like, I'm like screwed out of trying to one up and get my name back.
Wow.
Yeah. So
my mentor was right. She said, Carlene, she said to our class, if you don't buy your domain name, someone else will get it. And then you'll have to pay for it. It's really.
Well, Celine Dion is one of the most famous stories. She was one of the first that got that stolen. Somebody bought the rights to it and her people wanted to get it from them. And they had to end up buying it for a ridiculous amount of money. But there is no legal law anywhere that says someone can't buy a domain, even if it's your name, even if it's your company name, you're branded that way. and it be illegal. That's not illegal. It's legal to do that. You know, I could buy joebiden.com and hold it up for ransom, you know, and then they can pay that, and then they get the name, or they don't. Like, I mean, that's a real thing. You could actually do that to people.
It's crazy. No, people have done it. That's why we've heard about it in the news, right?
It happens all the time.
Crazy, crazy. Things are always happening.
So buy your name.
Buy your domain name. That's the message.
Buy your domain name. It's important.
No word of a lie. No, I hear you. It's true. I bought my domain name. No one can take away divaontheradio.com.
I love it. That's awesome.
I know. Oh my goodness. Thanks again, Andrew. It's great having you on the show.
Of course, anytime.
And Andrew Caravella. You can check out his podcasts. Kevin and Andrew have a podcast.